Hey there. Hi, folks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Dan.
Okay. Hey, Steve. Yeah. All right. Well, I had an entirely different slideshow plan. So if it seemed bizarre, I was making it up as I went along. Seriously, screw the guys at Microsoft with the PowerPoint. I spent all afternoon doing a PowerPoint and a keynote thing. You didn't see it. Fortunately, close enough for jazz. Hey folks, welcome to Bloomsday. Bloomsday sponsored by none other than Plumtree Spotted Meat. They were kind enough to kick in the money for the podcast and all this, and they also have they've sent cards signed by the owner, George W. Plumtree. And if you want some of these lovely postcards, by all means, either to me or to Paula, send a snail mail via your email. Let me just get the plugs out of the way here. It's lovely stuff. Plumtree's Potted Meat, they're the pride of Southport. For 6 generations now, the people of Southport, they've loved their potted meat. And this is, that's George there reading Ulysses. He's really gotten into it. I'll just read in the back of this one. George W. Plumtree VI thinks James Joyce's Ulysses literature in good taste, and that James Joyce's Ulysses thinks that plum trees are home-potted meats that taste good. We suggest you try them most regularly. The singular taste of plum trees, now shipping from Southport worldwide to find at grocery stores everywhere. Ask for it by name. So anyway, welcome to everybody. This is a Zoomsday, not a Bloomsday. So we're going to start out with a complete spoiler. Yeah, hi.
I'm sorry. Did you want me to say anything about the text stuff, or?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay.
We're winging it.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. I don't know why I'm not showing up. Anyway, I'm Paula. That you got the email from today, I have. Yeah, I don't know. Hi. I should be on speaker mode.
Nice hat.
Everybody's different. Yes, I like that hat. So basically, I just wanted to introduce myself so you knew who I was. And I'm gonna, as soon as we start the readings, we're gonna be muting everyone. I still haven't gotten that totally right because I realized that when I did that, I was muting Dan, which screwed it up, but I didn't know that. So now I won't do that. But what I will want you to make sure to get in touch with me by chat, or if you can't figure that out, wave your hand like this, really big in the camera, if you want to interrupt or do anything like that. But when we get to your part, the time for you to read, we'll send you a message to unmute yourself, and then you can read. The other thing is that there are little feedback icons on some of yours. If you find them, they also have little icons that show a waving hand to or a clapping hand to clap. And so those of you who want to give feedback right away, you can do that. Then after the readings, I guess. Oh, Dan, are we still having the music?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So at some point, Dan will introduce the harp music that we're going to have. Dan will be in charge of that. So Dan, you just tell me what you want me to do, and then I will back away. And so
back away. Just
feel
back
free
away.
to use the chat and direct it to me, and I'll answer. All right.
Okay. Well, can you put me large? I don't know.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is spoil all of Ulysses now. 10 years ago, a guy who isn't here, Carl, I'm just getting his name right, Bemedurfer from the Ulysses group, gave me a Ulysses challenge, a haiku challenge. And the idea was, could I do all 18 Ulysses chapters in haiku? And haikus normally, as some of you, particularly Eishiro Ito, who should be out there, no, it's 17 syllables, but he gave me the extra syllable there. So there's basically 18 chapters in 18 syllables, and I'm just going to completely just ruin all the plot of Ulysses for you. And let's just get to it. This is Ulysses in haiku by DJ Schiff. Telemachus. Buck Mulligan usurps Moody Mope Stephen Daedalus. Nestor. Stephen's a lackluster teacher working for an anti-Semite. Proteus. Does a walk on the Strand sound enjoyable? Not if you're Stephen D. Calypso. Bloom cooks a kidney, reads Millie's letter, and then takes a dump. Lotus Eaters. Bloom wanders the town, visits Sweeney for some lemon soap. Hades. Let us mourn poor Paddy Dignam. The bastard drank himself to death. Aeolus. Blowhards at the newspaper office work hard at goofing off. Lestergonians. Gorgonzola sandwich and a glass of burgundy. Scylla and Charybdis. Odd Shakespearean theories in the library. Wandering Rocks. A movable Dubliner's feast in 18 short segments. Cyclops. No, I'm sorry. Sirens. Sirens. 4 p.m. Bloom knows who's making beautiful music together. Cyclops. It's all beer and Skittles until somebody hurls a biscuit tin. Nausicaa. Gertie McDowell and Bloom enjoy skyrockets in flight. Oxen of the Sun. Childbirth is really difficult. Let's get drunk instead. Circe. A visit to a very trippy whorehouse. Nobody gets laid. Eumaeus. Poldy and Stephen share bad coffee and worse conversation. Ithaca. Stephen won't stay the night and leaves after a pissing contest. Penelope. Bloom's asleep and can't hear his wife's thoughts. We do, however. And that's that. Okay, now that we've ruined the plot, let's see. I don't have in front of me the way that it goes, the list. So I'm just going to call on Steve Yao, because I know that, Steve, it's late there and where you're at, and you asked to go first. So, Steve Yao, can you identify yourself and do your bit? Paul is looking for you.
Just a second. Steve, okay.
He's the guy that looks professorial.
Oh, there you
I'm
are.
here.
Okay, hi.
Howdy, everybody.
Hi. Good to see you.
I want to give a shout out to Judge Rhonda, Dan.
Oh,
Dan,
yeah.
Dan Yuta. Where are you, Dan Yuta? There you go. Dan Yuta. Ciao.
Yuta, yeah, Dan Yuta.
Yeah.
John Choppy, not Danuta.
There you go.
Choppy.
Choppy.
Nice to see you,
Choppy. John Choppy. I recognize you. So, anyway, just going to read the a passage from Cyclops. Paddy Dignam in the Afterlife, with a little bit of my modifications. All right. In the darkness, the spirit hands were felt to flutter, and when prayer by Tantras had been directed to the proper quarter, a faint but increasing luminosity of ruby light became gradually visible. The apparition of the etheric double being particularly lifelike, owing to the discharge of jivic rays from the crown of the head and face. Communication was effected through the pituitary body and also by means of the orange fire ray and scarlet rays emanating from the sacral region and solar plexus. Questioned by his earth name as to his whereabouts in the heaven world, he stated that he was now on the path of pralaya, or return, but was still submitted to trial at the hands of certain bloodthirsty entities on the lower astral levels, such as graduate students. In reply to a question as to his first sensations in the Great Divide Beyond, he stated that previously he had seen as in a glass darkly. but that those who had passed over had summit possibilities of atmic development opened up to them. Interrogated as to whether life there resembled our experience in the flesh, he stated that he had heard from more favored beings now in the spirit that their abodes were equipped with every modern home comfort, such as talafana, alavatar, halakalda, water closet, cappuccino, marijuana, primitiva. And that the highest adepts were steeped in the ways of volupcy in the very purest nature. Having requested a quart of buttermilk, this was brought and evidently afforded relief. Asked if he had any message for the living, he exhorted all who were still at the wrong side of Maya to acknowledge the true path, for it was reported in demonic circles that Mars and Jupiter were out for mischief on the eastern angle, where the ram has power. It was then queried whether there were any special desires on the part of the defunct, and the reply was, "We greet you, friends of Earth, who are still in the body. Mind CK doesn't pile it on." It was ascertained that the reference was to Mr. Cornelius Kendallher, manager of Messrs. H.J. O'Neill's popular funeral establishment, a personal friend of the defunct, who had been responsible for the carrying out of the interment arrangements. Before departing, he requested that it should be told to his dear son Patsy that the other boot, which he had been looking for, was at present under the commode in the return room, and that the pair should be sent to Cullen's to be sold, only as the heels were still good. He stated that this had greatly perturbed his peace of mind in the other region, and earnestly requested that his desire should be made known. Assurances were given that the matter would be attended to, and it was intimated that this had given satisfaction. He is gone from mortal haunts, O Bishop, son of morning. Fleet was his foot on the bracken. John Michael of the beanie brow. Wail, Bubba, with your wind. Oh, wail, oh, ocean, with your whirlwind.
That was wonderful, Steve.
Yeah.
Nothing like rewriting James Joyce a little bit. It always
Your
makes
best.
one feel a little empowered. Because the book had a lot of typos in it, and it's all up to us to fix them. That's what I think. Thanks. That was beautiful, man. I think we're gonna go. Where are you, incidentally, located right now, Steve?
Hamilton, Clinton, New York, Hamilton College.
Oh, well, you're in Clinton, New York.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think what we're gonna do is go from Clinton right to New York City, New York, for Bruce Gilbert, who's on 72nd, I think, in the sweet Uptown area near the park. Bruce, let people know where you're at. Paula, you need to find Bruce. He's a bald gentleman. Let's call him that. Oh, well, I can see people now. Paula, can you find
yourself?
You can't find him. Is he there?
Yeah, he's right there, but he can unmute yourself, Bruce.
Yeah, maybe you need to unmute yourself, Bruce. Can you do that?
Yes. Yay.
Very good. Look at you, all lit up.
Okay. I'm actually going to read from Jeanne Bishop because he has a lot to do with me reading Finnegans Wake these past many years. And I'm going to read from his book because his book has one of the few books I've read on the Wake that really makes me want to read the Wake, and actually with excitement. And I'm going to read when he talks about the rhythm in the prose. And it has a connection that I would like to think it might apply to also the end of life, not just the beginning. And it's page 353. According to this imperative, readers cultivating the requisite ideal insomnia and blank memory of lost life last night would now do well to wonder whether there was ever a time in their lives comparable to the hour of the night reconstructed in Anna Livia, when they dwelled only in unconsciousness, in a universe circumbounded primarily by the sound of a beating heart and arteries of running water. Should they have trouble recoiling such a time? O fetal sleep, ah, fatal slip. A simple waking question might help to jog a memory or two, for which memory is not at all the right word. Where have you been in the uterum? Through these terms, the wake suggests that in those darker reaches of the night, when our hero's dropped head contains only its own bloodstream, his ears having abandoned their educated hold on a world ordinarily structured in acoustical and phonetic understandings, his hearing falls back into an unknown body and dissolves in a tangle of blood, where deep on deep in an ear and in an ear, it leads him back towards mother waters. And it is though the alluvial waters of a noarctic memory withdrew. Look at here in this wet of his prow. Don't you know he was called a barn of the brine? Wasserborn, the water baby. Have Maria, so he was, H-E, has a codfish eye. The spectral appearance of the strange little water baby, a concealed man in the cloaca, in the midst of a space defined only by sonorous arteries of moving water, is startling and eerily beautiful. Reconstructing a form of blank Mom Mary, wholly inaccessible to consciousness and day's reason, Mary memory of Mom. The passage is evoking the origin not of reason, but of rhythm in the far ear. And it is moreover particularizing the site and manner of that origin by indirectly recalling, only through a sound, Ave Maria, the sense of Ave Maria, blessed is the fruit of the womb. And in a passage that explains how HCE, somewhere round Nun's Belly Square, was founded deep on deep in an ear, the wake even tells us that earwicker, that pattern mind, that paradigmatic ear, recepto retentive of Dionysius, has blank Mom Marys of an indefinite she who was lost away in the fern. Since the German fern means distant, the detail suggests that while our hero may indeed be found dead to the world in the night, hence founded, the state of fetal sleep itself returns him mnemonically to a period of lost life, when deep on deep in an ear, he heard in distant space something as inaudible as a rustling fern. How faint these first whispers womanly are, a secret pispigliando, amad the laverty den of their man folker. Although the source of this secret womanly whispering overhead in the night, vesper night pispigliando whispering, is inaudible in the weekday, La Verde, it comes to the fore everywhere in Anna Livia. Our Wasser-born hero, washed in a magique waveless of arterial sound that moves him back towards mother waters, ki maja water, waveless net, recalls prior times in his life when not yet, pass encore, not yet, he was not all there, ripe before reason, hearing only the oriental sound of running water in the far ear, while originating from next to nothing out of a Deltic origin like that which opens Anna Livia. Note in oriental and far ear how the ears orient as if in a far east. Oh, tell me all about Anna Livia. I want to hear all about Anna Livia. Well, you know Anna Livia. Yes, of course, we all know Anna Livia. Tell me all, tell me now. You'll die when you hear.
Well, thank you, Bruce. That's what we call a tight 5 minutes.
Was it? Did I make it?
I don't know. I'm just hoping. You know, you don't want to know what I think. I noticed, because we're looking around here, since you just read the brilliant words of Jeanne Bishop, I noticed in the house, in the yellow square, Jeanne Bishop. I don't know. You can just nod your head or shake your head. Do you want to say something?
I see her.
You do? Okay. Just a second.
We'll
unmute
I don't see her. Let's.
yourself.
Is she under the name Jeanne Bishop? Let's see.
Yeah, it's yellow. It's the yellow square, Paula.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Hi.
Yeah, hi. Dan, I want to thank you. That entry was wonderful. And I want to thank everybody who is here with us today. I'm not so sure why I'm so yellow, but but I am. So I don't know what to say. It's been a long day for us. I don't know all of you, whether or not you attended his memorial service at Trieste, and then again with his Berkeley colleagues. But I'm very touched. I'm so tired, I don't even know what to say. I'm very touched. I worked with Dan over the last several weeks for several hours, and I really appreciate what he's been able to put together.
Thank you.
Jeanne, I want to thank you too. All those wonderful pictures of John as a Jackie is what they called him as a child. Jenny, I hate to put you on the spot.
That's all right.
There's a picture of John, maybe 4 years old, marrying someone. Could you explain what the hell that was?
Yeah, so that was elementary school in 5th grade when he was probably, what, 10 years old. Our elementary school had a play, each class had a play every year. And that year the play was the Tom Thumb Wedding. So John was Tom Thumb, and he married Joan.
He married young.
He married very young. And it's interesting because I followed in his footsteps. 2 years after that, we also had a wedding, and I was Jeanne June in the Tom Thumb wedding.
So fun. Those are special little things.
Yeah, I just have to say, for those of you that aren't quite up to speed, the last 10 years, Jeanne and Anne, who is no longer with us, were taking real good care of John in Syracuse. And actually, are you still at the facility?
Yeah. And I have to say that a lot of people have referenced it as James Square Health and Rehabilitation Center, but we recently have new ownership, and acknowledging that my sister was a beloved physician in the community, and that John was a beloved scholar and professor currently in our nursing home, and that I have been medical director since 1994. They renamed under new ownership, wonderful people, they renamed the facility Bishop Rehabilitation and Nursing Center in honor of our family. So that was
that's really great.
And I'm there every day, and I had the gift over the last 10 years of being able to see John every day. And so it was bittersweet, his stroke, but what it did essentially is brought the three of us together. Our sister Annie, John, and I were able to be together for a while and sort of reacquaint ourselves with each other. The intent of Annie and I were to have him take us through Finnegans Wake, but the busyness of life, that kind of never happened. I'm on the verge of configuring retirement, and one of my dreams in retirement was to be able to spend more quality time with John, learning about Joyce and going through the wake with him and being able to spend more time with him. I bought a wheelchair van when he first moved there with the intent of being able to get him out in the community. One of his very favorite things was going to a longstanding neighborhood bar and restaurant not far from our home on Washington Street. And his favorite thing was the Friday night fish platter with a Manhattan. Dreamed of that.
Well,
So,
what I have to tell you is, from all of us, we all wanted more time reading Finnegans Wake with John. We got what we got. But it was fun, and his book is amazing, and it captures his voice. Chris Gilbert did a really good job of it. As you know, it's a very difficult book. Before I switch away from you, do you have any last words? We're going to show you how difficult the wake could be in a minute, but do you have any last words?
I'm actually enjoying it. Actually, when John was ill, Annie and I were there for 3 months, and we sat in on a number of the groups that he held at Berkeley campus. So
Right.
it was a lot of fun. We did some readings as well. So
good.
What I want to say is, I think purely and simply is thank you all for loving John enough to be able to be here today. He was a very special person, and you have that realization as well. And Dan, extra special thanks for spending all the time you did putting it together, putting this together.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, what we're going to do now, Jeannie, is show you exactly how difficult Finnegans Wake could be. Potter Wickware, I know you're out there somewhere. I haven't seen you in this millennium. There you are, Potter. He's the guy that's waving.
There I see him.
Like it might be Abby there. Can you unmute him, Paula?
I asked him to unmute, and he will. As soon as
okay. So Potter, what Potter's going to do is tell us about a Thunderword.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us what a Thunderword is and go ahead, Potter.
Hold on 1 second first, though. I want to just change this, and then I'll be right back to you. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you unmute again, because I just wanted to fix something. Okay, try unmuting again. I apologize for that. Unmute one more time, Potter. Okay, got it. Okay, we're cool.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, well, hello everyone. Potter Wickware here. I was a participant in the Berkeley group, but then I moved away, and so anyway, so sorry to hear about John's passing. I came and visited him, and right after his attack, and so a great man. I'm sorry he's gone. Now I want to read the Thunderword, a 100 letter word that's on page 424. But before I do that, a brief introduction. Now I came to the wake back in the late 70s, thanks to Nelia, who I see down there, and also thanks to a Ezra Pound seminar that I took at Berkeley. And so 2 different ways of looking at language, and I absorbed them. And at the same time that happened, my mother was diagnosed with a disease that gradually took away her language ability. And it was quite tragic, because she was a very literate, well-read woman, and she'd written for the New Republic. She was on the staff of the Partisan Review, which was a left little magazine of the 40s and 50s, a very literate, well-spoken woman. And so she lost her power of language bit by bit, and it was quite a tragic thing to see. And so what sometimes she would do, she couldn't, and incidentally, everyone forgets the word. You're groping for the right word to say, and it doesn't come out quite right. And only with her, it was the basic 200 words that you use all the time, and she couldn't remember them. So it was very sad, and she'd make up her own words sometimes. Now, at the same time, I was getting into the wake, and I would read to her poetry. And some of the poetry was the canonical stuff from her parents and my grandparents' era. I remember she liked For example, The Destruction of Sennacherib by Byron. And, you know, it's full of music and resonance. And then there's a new kind of poetry that's in Joyce. And so coming back to the point, I would read Joyce to her. And she got a big kick out of it because it was like her. The guy had an idea and he was going to the trouble of writing it down, and maybe it didn't come out quite the way she expected it to or how the reader would expect it to. But anyway, he got it down, and so that was her experience with language in her last days. Now, so here's the passage, and I'll read it. And this is on 424. And it's, here we go. For his root language, if you ask me whys, Sean replied, as he blessed himself devotionally like a cross-bomb, making act of oblivion, foot and mouther, what the thickens else, which he pig-sticked into his letrous invention. All hold turden wer mood guard, Gringnor Urdnal, near Fenrir, Luknil ok kiba ok imando, rain sort crins met rak in a rakar. That's Thor for you. And so it's I mean, this is a, you know, it seems clear to me that he's asleep and there's thunder coming in from the night, and that's what he makes out of it. So I'd read a passage like that to my mother when she was groping for a word, and she got a big kick out of it. So,
well, thanks, Potter.
Okay, thank you, Dan, for organizing.
Well, no, this is great to hear your voice again. It's been a while, and you do have one of those great voices. Where are you at now? Where are you located?
Mill Valley, California.
Oh, all right. So you're not that far away.
I'm right across the bay from you.
Yeah. All right. Well, Steve, yeah, I'll see you later. You got to go, but yeah, it's good seeing you. We must go do some more of that stuff that we were doing before. So we'll do that later on. Yeah, peace and love. As Steve Yao says, fades off into the sunset, we're going to go to our furthest away person. Eishiro Ito is there in Japan, and this guy, you know, I'm not going to blame you for not knowing who the superstars of Japan are in the Joyce scene.
No.
But Eishiro is definitely that. He's got a website that's just phenomenal. And how I became aware of him was through Facebook. I'm like, who is this guy that's showing up at every single Joyce event and taking copious pictures and cross-referencing them? And I became friends with him first just through Facebook, just because he was keeping up with stuff I couldn't. Back in the day, Fritz Zen used to take the pictures, but now it's Eishiro, and he's got an amazing website. Again, because of stuff, I took down, he had 3 shots of John, and hopefully maybe I can get them, but technical difficulties and stuff, but he took a picture of me. I was able to ego surf myself on his site, and before I knew who he was, he took a picture of me in 2004, spelled my name right, and listed me as an artist. So, you know, this guy's amazing. And he has a bunch of subjects that he writes on. He's a pretty good scholar on the Wake, I think. And what Eishiro is going to do is do a little bit from Finnegans Wake, a section that I like, which has to do with guessing of colors of the underwear in the children's games. So you're unmuted. Hi, Eishiro. It's great to see you.
Yeah. Okay,
so it's all you.
Okay, thank you. So I will read some passage from Finnegans Wake from starting page the 233, line 15. Let's start. for he falters how he hates to trouble them without. But leaving Cothead smiter and the heron plumes straight to the serve of servant and the legs of legumes, and making a bolder dash of the lovely of speech, he asked, not have you seen a match being stuck, nor is this powder mine, but letting pamphlet pass to earnest. Haps thee Zeonum crowds now? Haps thee male jaunties now? Haps thee pau causes non syllables now? ASCII, go on, Mikako, get. Pin and pin nom, pin one palm, and he did get the alliance and shrink his hook away. Arguere comes arguere, like Timster's enchantments, whom the hurricane harried and hotfoot zango zeko, to foot of the attacks, the argles, jammers, gammers, yellow, yak, who hicked the chapter as upon a scarf snack of pure and differing and risk. Miran moon water toyed Tsuchisati was hoppitopon as rascally and as bascally as your cheese chalk cow cut Spanish. Makoto, Waga Creole, Laga knows the years, yet light divining do not was. Hopobobo the Hopgate Hopkins match in Kamicha. He had his spirits all pouring on him. To bet most gripostly, he was bedazzled and bedazzled. He had his treatise tablier arm and looked like the bloody howl, sharing a cockshy and be donkey shot at, or peso bisant to join the armada. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I sneak in?
Have anything you want to add? Commentary on that?
Mr. Ito, I just reading Men Without Women by Murakami. Do you know if he was into Joyce at all?
Yes, Haruki Murakami, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Haruki Murakami is a Japanese, it's the writer, and it's a Haruki Murakami claims he doesn't like James Joyce very much, but definitely he read almost all works of James Joyce, and after that he tried to deny something because he tried to stabilize his identity as a writer. I think probably as a writer he's close to Samuel Beckett or Franz Kafka. But I think Joyce is a very special as a writer for Haruki Murakami too, I think. Just like another Japanese writer, Kazuo Ishiguro. Kazuo Ishiguro also loves Samuel Beckett, according to the interviews on several years ago. But I think both Japanese writers really influenced by James Joyce very much, I think.
Well,
yeah.
Well, okay. I can't believe I'm talking to someone from Japan, but such is the nature of Zoom. Sit back. We're going to have more stuff. What I'm going to do now is we're going to switch gears and go to another part of the world. Damon Frank, you're around here somewhere, right? Are you there, Damon? I'm looking. I don't see him right now. Okay. Oh wait, no, he's left. He's left the chair. So let's go up to Lisa. Lisa's in the Pacific Northwest. That's Lisa Wabi. We knew her as Lisa Brown. Miss Brown to you, fabulous Miss Brown. How you doing, Lisa?
Well, Dan, it's great to see you
Yeah,
guys.
nice to see you as always.
Thank you.
Lisa has she's a pitch hitter, I guess is what we call her. The absolutely brilliant Wake scholar Margot Norris, who not only wrote the Decentered Universe of Finnegans Wake, was a very good friend to Jeanne Bishop. Her husband Roland had a stroke, and she was very keyed in on how strokes can affect people and that the person's still there. my stepmother too has had a stroke. She has Wernicke's aphasia. It changes you, but it doesn't change you that much. But she couldn't make it tonight, but she did send along a message and asked if I could find like the most charming woman on earth to read it. And I said, well, she wasn't available, but Lisa could do it.
Exactly.
So
you're still looking.
yeah, I know, I am still looking. But Lisa, why don't you say a little bit if you want to, and then read Margot's part.
I'm glad we finally connected, Lisa. I'm glad it's glad
Thank
you're
you, Paula. Your perseverance went through. I am Lisa Brown Wabi. Some of you I recognize. It's so fun to see some of you, Catherine and Stephen, of course, John Toppy. And anyway, the Tuesday group, I will tell you, started because I took this great class from John. I actually took 2 classes from him, but I liked him so much in Western Civ that I took him again for my thesis at Cal, and he was amazing. And on our syllabus, we had, of course, Ellman's biography of him, and we had Dubliners and Portrait, Ulysses, and Finnegans Wake, and we read as much as we could for as long as we could during that semester, but we didn't get to Finnegans Wake. So this guy, Jeffrey Slate, and I went up to John and said, hey, would you be willing to continue our class with us and help us get through Finnegans Wake? And he said, you know, I would do it not as a teacher, but with you. And I have some other people who've been asking, and I see some of your faces there. So who knew that simple ask at that time would take us through so many great days, from wonderful birthday celebrations to marriages and trips to Monaco and conferences at Berkeley and, you know, raps and concerts and so many wonderful, wonderful memories. So that wouldn't have happened.
34 years of it.
Yeah. So I'm indebted to so many of you here that I see from those days, and to John Bishop. He will not be forgotten. So in that light, I will read what Margot sent over. Bear with me. It may not be the way she would have said it, but hopefully it will do some kind of justice. She's an emeritus professor from Irvine and the author of The Decentered Universe of Finnegans Wake. And what she selected was very short, but hopefully she said it made her think of her dear friend John Bishop, and that she hopes he might have considered it cool or coolie, depending on. So here's what she said. All men has done something. Be the time they've come to the weight of old fletch, we'll lave it so. We will take our walk before in the temple, they ring the earthly bells. In the church by the hearse-yard, Pax, good men's will. Or the birds start their Tristram shandy. Look, there yours off high on high, and Cush's sweet good luck, they're calling you, coolie.
Oh, that was beautiful, Lisa. Yeah, it's just it's so nice to hear Margot's words, and I'm sure she's going to be jazzed. We're going to have soon enough. Hopefully, a lot of this will be up on YouTube. We're at a point now, particularly since I paid for the gig. We're going to have a little music. Diana, if you're on there right now, I'm seeing you as nothing. There you are. Oh my God, boy, do you look great. Okay, Diana Rowan and her harp. What can I tell you about it? She's a woman with a harp.
All right. Yeah.
Take it away, Diana.
Thank you. Happy Bloomsday. I live in Berkeley, California, but I was born in Dublin. So I guess it's a very, very timely day here for us on Bloomsday. And I'd like to play one of Joyce's favorite songs, Down by the Sally Gardens, for you. And the Sally Gardens are actually on the banks of a river in Sligo. And we know that this was one of his favorite songs because he actually performed it in concert. Apparently he was a pretty good tenor, and he really liked the words that Yeats wrote of this. So there is an even older version of the words, but Yeats rewrote them. And apparently Joyce gave Nora a gift of these words at some point. So yeah, it's a really sweet song. And actually I thought I'd read out some of the words. It's very short. And as I mentioned, Yeats rewrote this song. So down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy, as the leaves grow on the tree, but I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy, as the grass grows on the weirs, but I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I just want to mention that your video is slowing, but your audio is fine. So just so people know, we're hearing the audio fine. You can turn off your video or you can leave it on, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
But, yeah. Audio is fine.
Okay, great. I think I'll just leave it on just for a little while. That's interesting. I'm on the FAST network, but yeah, I think everybody's online these days, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get to be our glitch.
You look beautiful, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we're hearing you fine though.
Great.
Yeah, right.
Very pretty.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
you know, we're going to have more of Diana and her harp later on in our fine program, but we have to move it along. And I have to say this because now I'm seeing through the little boxes. This isn't on the thing, but I see two people. Paula, one has a pink hat, one is sitting in the study. I see Satish and J. Dylan Brown. And God, guys, hey guys, Dylan, yeah, all right. I haven't seen you guys since what, 1998, 1999? Something like that.
1994, I think would be.
1994?
That's
my God.
Right. That's when we graduated. John was our advisor. He was our honors advisor and our Ulysses seminar and the Wake group, of course. And I see Jeanne.
So I'm giving you each 2 minutes. I know you don't have anything prepared to read, but why don't you just catch us up on what's going on with you guys?
Oh, Dylan, you want to go first? You don't.
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll go. So yes, I'm here with a pink hat. Yes. So hi everybody. I'm Satish. I live in New York City. I was an undergrad at Berkeley. Graduated in '94. I took John's 46B class and then later his Joyce seminar. And I was in the afternoon with John's sister Jeanne over there at the celebration this afternoon. And one of the things I shared in our little breakout room was how I really wanted to be in his Ulysses seminar. And he's like, I can't tell you, it's really hard to get into these things. So I went up, I took an appointment, I went and met him in his office, and I asked him, like, how do I get it? He's like, look, I'm not in charge of this. He says, what you want to write, though, maybe is, ever since the day you were born, you were meant to read Ulysses. And I didn't know if he was making, I didn't know what to do with this. But I wrote it down, and lo and behold, in those days, they would actually put on a piece of paper on the door and who got into which seminar. And
wow.
It turned out I got in. He was truly a wonderful friend. I got to visit him in Zurich. Obviously, 2001 went back with Dylan as well, and Jonathan, and some of our other friends for the Joyce.
I got the pictures to prove it. Yeah.
I know, we were all there, but yeah. Since then, I'm actually a social worker, and I was telling actually the story is I never followed the path of becoming a PhD in literature, but John wrote me a recommendation. I'm a public policy social worker in New York City. I work with kids with disabilities, and John never hesitated to write me a recommendation for that. And in some ways, and Jeanne actually said a nice thing today to me was that a lot of he was a friend, but he was also a mentor, and it was the way he treated each of us. I think it was sometimes confusing. Are you my professor or my advisor, or are you my friend? Or maybe all of those. And he was just and I hope that I think I do actually take on some of those characteristics, and I think it's very much John Bishop.
I'll have you know that in the day, Choppy, who's sitting there sort of stroking his chin,
John Choppy's there. We used to go to his house, and thank you, John
Choppy's house, yeah. And I had the key to Choppy's house.
I didn't mean to.
One day, Satish and Dylan, and I think Jonathan Goldman too, you all showed up like 3 in a row. And I was like, who are these guys? Who are these clowns? And, indeed, you guys were as smart as any of them. So Dylan, where are you? What are you doing?
I feel like Satish took my 2 minutes, but I can give you a little
That's
update.
all right. It's all right. Is everyone okay? Just nod your head if you want to hear what he has to say. Nod your head.
A couple.
You're getting slight nods. Go ahead.
That's fine. So yeah, I am in St. Louis, Missouri, where I live and work. And like Satish, I graduated in '94. I was in that class that Satish took. I didn't have to grovel to get in somehow, but I managed to. And yeah, I mean, basically that class is why I am an English professor, which I am right now at Washington University in St. Louis. And, John Bishop was pretty much who I wanted to be when I was in college and after. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been You know, I haven't seen you, Dan, for a long time. I did see John a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I know. And Satish did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, even after that, I went through with my family just off. We were driving across the country basically a couple of years ago, and we found ourselves near Syracuse, and I was like, okay, let's call Jeanne Bishop. And what I remember about it is the name of the home had changed to Bishop. And so, because I hadn't been able to find it immediately, I actually think I got it from Goldman. I got the number. And then when I talked to John about that, he told me that all the residents had decided that they should name it after him because they liked him so much.
Wow.
Which I assume wasn't true, but it was.
Well, let me just tell you a quick story on that. When I talked to John, one of the last times I talked to John, I said, "Is there anybody there at that building that you like?" And he said, "Well, there are a lot of people there I don't mind." So I thought, you know, that's kind of sardonic, John. But it's nice to know that he was liked. I mean, I get the feeling that everybody liked him there, and you know, occasionally people would pick up the phone. You know, I'd be talking, and someone would pick up, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Professor Bishop." They all called him Professor. It was quite nice. Well, I have to say that you looked unchanged, Dylan. Maybe it's the lighting.
Yeah, it's strategic lighting, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to move on. But continue listening in and stuff. What we're gonna do now? There are two people in the Bay Area that wanted to read a little bit of Ithaca, and so one of them's Thomas Reich and one of them's Mark Mitchell. Do either of you care which one goes first? Apparently not. Okay, let's have Mark Mitchell go first then. Let's see, Paula, can you?
I got him. He's there.
She got me.
All right. Mark Mitchell's a member of our Ulysses group that meets at Jane Sleepers, or used to meet at Jane Sleepers, and one day in the you know, when we have jet packs, we'll be meeting there again. So go ahead, Mark.
All right. I actually do want to point out 16 years ago today, Joni took a picture of you on O'Connell Street. I had not met you, and when we got back, we turned up at the Leapers, and the first person I see walking through the door is going, "I was just looking at a picture of you." And just for a bonus, Catherine was here also, was Joni's housemate in Santa Cruz. Over 40 years ago. Over 40 years ago. So Ithaca at the end. In what final satisfaction did these antagonistic sentiments and reflections, reduced to their simplest forms, converge? Satisfaction at the ubiquity in Eastern and Western terrestrial hemisphere, in all habitable lands and islands exposed, explored or unexplored, the land of the midnight sun, the islands of the blessed, the isles of Greece, the land of promise, of adipose anterior and posterior female hemispheres, redolent of milk and honey, and of excretory sanguine and seminal warmth, reminiscent of secular families of curves of amplitude, insuspectable of moods, of impressions, or of contrarieties of expression, expressive of mute, immutable, mature animality. Visible signs of anti-satisfaction. An approximate erection, a solicited version, a gradual elevation, a tentative revelation, a silent contemplation. Then he kissed the plump, mellow, yellow, smellow melons of her rump on each plump, melonous hemisphere in their mellow, yellow furrow with obscure, prolonged, provocative, mellow, smellowness, osculation. The visible sign of post-satisfaction. A silent contemplation, a tentative velation, a gradual abasement, solicitous aversion, approximate erection. What followed is silent action. Somnolent invocation, less somnolent recognition, incipient excitation, catechetical interrogation. With what modifications did the narrator reply to this interrogation? Negative. He omitted to mention a clandestine correspondence between Martha Clifford and Henry Flower, the public altercation at, in, and in the vicinity of the licensed premises of Bernie Kiernan and Company Limited, 8, 9, and 10 Little Brown Britain Street, the erotic provocation and response thereto caused by the exhibitionism of Gertie, surname unknown. Positive included mention of a performance by Mrs. Banderman Palmer of Leah at the Gaiety Theater, 46, 47, 48, 49 South King Street, an invitation to supper at Wynn's, Murphy's Hotel, 35, 36, 37 Lower Abbey Street, and a volume of pecunious pornographical tendency entitled Sweets of Sin, anonymous author, Gentleman of Fashion, a temporary concussion caused by falsely calculated movement in the course of potential gymnastic display, the victim, since completely recovered, being Stephen Dedalus, professor and author, eldest surviving son of Simon Dedalus, of no fixed occupation, an aeronautical feat executed by him, narrator, in the presence of a witness, the professor and author aforesaid, with promptitude of decision and gymnastic flexibility. Was the narration otherwise by modifications? Otherwise unaltered by modifications? Absolutely. Which event or person emerged as the salient point of this narration? Stephen Dedalus, professor and author. What limitations of activity and inhibitions of conjugal rights were perceived by listener and narrator concerning themselves during the course of this intermittent and increasingly more laconic narration? By the listener, a limitation of fertility, inasmuch as marriage had been celebrated one calendar month after the 18th anniversary of her birth, 8 September 1870, viz. 8 October, and consummated on the same day with female issue born 15 June 1889, having been anticipatorily consummated on 10 September of the same year, and complete carnal intercourse with the ejaculation of semen within the natural female organ, having last taken place 5 weeks previous, viz. 27 November 1895, to the birth on 29 December 1893 of the second and only male issue, deceased January 2nd, 1894, aged 11 days. There remained a period of 10 years, 5 months, 18 days, during which carnal intercourse had been incomplete without ejaculation of semen within the natural female organ. That the narrator, a limitation of activity, mental and corporal, inasmuch as complete mental intercourse between himself and the listener had not taken place since the consummation of puberty, indicated by catonymic hemorrhage of the female issue of narrator and listener, 15 September 1903. There remained a pre-established natural comprehension and incomprehension between the consummated females, listener and issue. Complete corporal liberty of action had been circumscribed. How? By various reiterated feminine interrogation concerning the masculine destination, whither, the place where, the time at which, the duration for which, the object with which, in case of temporary absences, projected or affected. What moved visibly above the listeners and the narrator's invisible thoughts? The upcast reflection of a lamp and shade, and in constant series of concentric circles of varying gradations of light and shadow. In what direction did the listener and narrator lie? Listener, southeast by east, narrator, northwest by west, on the 53rd parallel of latitude north and the 6th meridian of longitude west, at an angle of 45 degrees to the terrestrial equator. In what state of rest or motion? At rest relatively to themselves and to each other, in motion being each and both carried westward, forward, and rearward respectively by the proper perpetual motion of the earth through the ever-changing tracts of never-changing space. In what posture? Listener reclined semilaterally, left hand under head, right leg extended in straight line, resting on left leg, flexed in the attitude of Gaietalis, fulfilled, recumbrant, big with seed. Narrator reclined laterally, left with right and left legs flexed, index finger and thumb of the right hand resting on the bridge of the nose, an attitude depicted in a snapshot photograph made by Percy Apjohn, the child man weary, the man-child in the womb. Womb, weary, he rests, he has traveled with Sinbad the sailor, and Tinbad the tailor, and Jidbad the jailer, and Whitbread the whaler, and Ninbad the nailer, and Finbad the baler, and Binbad the baler, Pinbad the paler, and Midbad the mailer, Hinbad the hailer, and Rinbad the railer, and Dimbad the caler, and Binbad the quailer, and Linbad the yailer, and Zinbad the tailor. When, going to dark bed, was a square round Sinbad the sailor, rocks, ox, egg, in the night of the bed of all the ox of the rocks of dark and bad, the bright dailer. Where? Full stop.
It was entirely appropriate that you read first, since you read the last part of it.
Yeah, well,
you could have said something. But
spoiler alert, I sent you those pages.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have so much to do. Yeah. All right. That's fine.
Oh, I'm not
when
sure.
You said who goes first? You could have said, no, the other guy. I'm going last. No, all right.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, that's okay, because this is Zoomsday. We don't do stuff normally. So thanks a lot, Mark. That was great. You know, very precise pornographic language. That's what I always like to hear, is precise pornographic language. So we're going to switch over to the Oakland Hills. Thomas Reich is coming up next. You can go ahead and mute Mark for the rest of the evening. Thomas is a current member of the Berkeley Tuesday Night Finnegans Wake group, and he does the deep research. And he was able to help me out. I don't know, some of you might have read my obituary of Jeanne Bishop on Berkeley side. He gave me some assistant help with that. He helped me find some images which are on a PowerPoint presentation, which you're not going to see tonight. But he's really dedicated. And the other thing you should know about him is, you know, people have a lot of Joyce books. He's got a lot of math books. He's got so many math books that I think basically his wife may leave him over the amount of math books he has. But he's always interested, and he always can tell us a lot of stuff about. And it's you know, math is more than just adding two numbers together. I found out. I'm not really up on the subject, but he's going to actually read a bit of Ithaca that has to do with numbers and ratios. Isn't that right, Tom?
Yeah, Dan, I actually am going to read from Cyclops, and then maybe a little,
okay.
There's a little bit of Ithaca that I'd like to do that's math at the end.
Okay, that sounds good. So it's going to be a twofer. And you're going to keep to the 5 minutes too, right?
I'm going to try.
All right.
Speed it up here. Okay, so I begin with Cyclops, the parody of...
Oops.
Oh, you got mute.
My mistake. Did you get it fixed? Oh, here.
Okay, yeah, you're okay now.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. So, I'm okay now?
Yeah, you're fine.
So, this is a parody of Emmett's hanging in the style of exaggerated newspaper reporting in the Cyclops. And I'll begin now. The Vice the Regal house party, which included many well-known ladies, was chaperoned by their excellencies to the most favorable positions on the grandstand, where the picturesque foreign delegation known as the Friends of the Emerald Isle was accommodated on a tribune directly opposite. The delegation, present in full force, consisted of Commendatore Baci Benino Benoni, the semi-paralyzed doyen of the party, who had to be assisted to his seat by the aid of a powerful steam crane. Monsieur Pierre-Paul Petit Pete Patat, the Grand Joker Vladimir Pocket Handkerchev, the Arch Joker Leopold Rudolf von Schwanzen Bad Hodenthaler, Countess Maha Viraga Gisenzoni Putra Pesti, Hiram Y. Bombost, Count Athanatos Caramelopoulos, Ali Baba Bakshish, Rakat Locum Effendi, Signor Hidalgo Caballero Don Picadillo y Palabras y Paternoster de Malora de la Malaria, Poco Poco Harakiri, He Hong Chang, Olaf Kober Knelson, Mynheer Trick van Trumps, Han Polaks Padariski, Goospan Prikkelsteer Krakena Sabrichevich, Horace Huppenkopf, Herr Kurhaus Director President, Hans Churchly Storchly, Gymnasium, Museum, Sanatorium, and Suspensorium Ordinary Privatdocent, General History Special Professor Dr. Kriegfried, Überallgemein. All the delegates without exception expressed themselves in the strongest possible heterogeneous terms concerning the nameless barbarity which they had been called upon to witness. An animated altercation in which all took part ensued among the FOTEI as to whether the 8th or the 9th of March was the correct date of the birth of Ireland's patron saint. In the course of the argument, cannonballs, scimitars, boomerangs, blunderbusses, stinkpots, meat choppers, umbrellas, catapults, knuckle dusters, sandbags, lumps of pig iron were resorted to, and blows were freely exchanged. The baby policeman, Constable McFadden, summoned by special courier from Booterstown, quickly restored order, and with lightning promptitude proposed the 17th of the month as a solution equally honorable for both contending parties. The ready-witted 9-footer's suggestion at once appealed to all and was unanimously accepted. Constable McFadden was heartily congratulated by all the FOTEI, several of whom were bleeding profusely. Commendatore Benino Benoni having been extricated from underneath the presidential armchair, it was explained by his legal advisor, Avvocato Pagamimi, that the various articles secreted in his 32 pockets had been abstracted by him during the affray from the pockets of his junior colleagues in the hope of bringing them to their senses. The objects, which included several hundred ladies' and gentlemen's gold and silver watches, were promptly restored to their rightful owners, and general harmony reigned supreme. So that was a prelude to Emmett's hanging. The next part was a part of the mathematics that Joyce did, where there were 3 errors in the arithmetic, and I'll read the corrected version for you. What relation existed between their ages? 16 years before, in 1888, when Bloom was of Stephen's present age, Stephen was 6. 16 years after, in 1920, when Stephen would be of Bloom's present age, Bloom would be 54. In 1936, when Bloom would be 70 and Stephen 54, their ages initially in the ratio of 16 to 0 would be as 17.5 to 13.5, the proportion increasing and the disparity diminishing according as arbitrary future years were added. For if the proportion existing in 1883 had continued immutable, conceiving that to be possible, till then, 1904, when Stephen was 22, Bloom would be 374. And in 1920, when Stephen would be 38, as Bloom was then, Bloom would be 646. While in 1952, when Stephen would have attained the maximum and post-Diluvian age of 70, Bloom being 1,190 years alive, having been born in the year 762, would have surpassed by 221 years the maximum antediluvian age, that of Methuselah, 969 years. While if Stephen would continue to live until he would attain that age in the year 3072 AD, Bloom would have been obliged to have been alive 20,230 years, having been obliged to have been born in the year 17,159 BC. What events might nullify these calculations? The cessation of existence of both or either, the inauguration of a new era or calendar, the annihilation of the world and consequent extermination of the human species, inevitable but unpredictable. That's it.
Wow.
That was thank you.
Yeah.
You read Joyce because he's funny.